Vice President Kaalas, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Israel returned to fighting in Gaza. You recently called it unacceptable. Why is that?
Because of the appalling loss of life. And of course, we want to really call on all parties going back to the ceasefire agreement and really, release all the hostages and continue to have a way out of this.
We did see, though, that in these past couple of months, Hamas was able to rearm. We saw launching of rockets towards civilian populations just this Saturday. How can Israelis make sure they're safe?
Israel's security is also a big worry for European Union, and we have been very clear that we can't see any role for Hamas in the future governance of Gaza, and we need to work so that it would be so.
But how do you eliminate Hamas?
Yeah, well, that is a big question. Of course, we need to work with the regional partners how to do that. But what is also worrying for us is the civilian lives need to be spared. We have the humanitarian law, which says that, you can't attack and target civilians. You have to spare civilians, civilian infrastructure. And I think, in the long term, it's also important that the people have future, that they don't radicalize, because violence just breeds more violence.
But don't you think these are claims that need to be said to Hamas, who uses civilians as human shields?
Of course, we are not behind that negotiation table. We are not the mediators, but we have said that to the mediators who are there. And we also have signaled that, European Union could be also the one who is talking to Israelis, who's also talking to the Arab countries. Let's find a way out how we can have, governance of Gaza without Hamas. How can we root out terrorism? How can we make sure that Israel is secure and safe? Because the security of Israel is very important. Also rooting out terrorism. So we are in this together.
You're advocating for the continuation of humanitarian aid, as you said, to spare civilian lives. However, just last week, we saw former hostage Ali Sharabi in the UN speaking about how Hamas militants took this aid, fed themselves, ate like kings, he said, while starving hostages.
Listening to the hostages' stories is heartbreaking. Not only the hostages who have been released, but also the families of hostages that I met today and I met before as well. We have to do everything to release them. We also have to make sure that, the humanitarian aid is not weaponized anyway. European Union stands ready to help with the different missions so that, we would be able to help and control the humanitarian aid reaching those people who need that.
Do you have the ability to do that?
We have the ability, for example, for the EU BAM Rafah mission. It's also for the border crossing so that people with the medical needs are able to leave Gaza. We can work something out if we are engaged and asked here where this intention is that the humanitarian aid really reaches the people, because the suffering of the people must also stop.
You come to Israel at a time of turmoil. You must have seen it coming here. Are you concerned by the recent steps taken by Prime Minister Netanyahu, and how do you see the future of Israeli democracy? Are you concerned for the future of Israeli democracy?
We, of course, coming here, we are seeing different actions. But I must say that it also shows that democracy is on a very, very strong footing in Israel, because if you have the different factions, you have different ideas, and also people able to demonstrate and also express their views. That shows that democracy is strong. But I think more generally in the world, we need to see, that we don't give in, with small steps, giving in to democracy, whether it's, undermining the legal system, the rule of law, whether it's, limiting the freedom of press. And I'm not talking about Israel. I'm talking about more generally that these are things.
Prime Minister Netanyahu is doing those steps? The protesters are claiming this is exactly what he's doing.
Well, we are not interfering into the domestic politics of Israel, but I think we all need to we need to see that democracy is based on trust, and we need to safeguard democracy wherever we are. And of course, these are the principles that are the basic principles and values of the European Union. So of course, we stand for this.
You said about a month ago that the EU is committed to the Rome Treaty. Does that mean that once Prime Minister Netanyahu steps in EU territory, he will be arrested?
We have different member states. So different member states are also parties to the Rome Convention, which means that they are also the ones who are implementing the Rome Statute. And it's up to the member states to decide.
It seems that the relationship between the United States and the EU are being reevaluated these days. How do you see President Trump's mediation in the war in Ukraine?
We welcome the talks in Jeddah. They're ongoing right now as well. The first outcome was that really Ukraine agreed to a ceasefire, short-term ceasefire. The problem is that Russia didn't really agree to this. So I think we see the war so that America has the power to put the pressure on Russia to really stop that war. And I think it is good that they are bringing this to the table to see that, let's start with the, showing of goodwill, ceasefire, but also giving back the deported children, also releasing the prisoners of war. This could be the show of goodwill. We haven't seen that from the Russia side so far.
Is Washington still an ally, to your opinion?
America is our greatest ally and friend and has been. So, of course, administrations are changing and we need to adapt to the new style of the new administration. But I'm sure that we are able to work out our differences. We don't always see eye to eye in different questions, but we are always able to manage and work out our differences to go on.
So we said it seems like historic days in your region with everything that's going on in Ukraine and the war. What side of history should Israel be on? That of the Russian side or that of Ukraine?
Israel should be on the right side of history. and that is, in Ukraine and Russia, it's so very clear. It is very black and white. One is the aggressor blatantly attacking another country, attacking, the universal principles of the UN Charter, territorial sovereignty, the integrity of another country, and the other one is a victim.
Vice President Kaalas, thank you so much for this.
Thank you.